We speak out with Siyata D'Shmai oftentimes many fascinating ramazim that the Dorshei Rishumas, Kadmoinim, tell us repeatedly. So many mystical and cryptic ramazim really encoded in the Osios HaTorah. L'moshel Parshas Kadoshim with Siyata D'Shmai. We turn this week to this Parshas Kadoshim where we read in Perkei Tes Posik Dalet Al Tifnu El HaElilim. We call it Avodas Kochavim. Is also referred to oftentimes as Avodas Elilim. Rashi tells us Elilim, it's Loshan El Kalohu Choshuv. So it obviously has various meanings. But writes the Bnei Yissoschar, the din of a Rebbe, we have a Gavaldig Remes. Writes the Bnei Yissoschar and his Igra de Kalo. Elilim is Roshei Tevis. We turn to Tehillim, Kapitel Nun Ches, and Pasuk Vav, and David HaMelech there writes, Hasher lo yishma lakom malach Hashem, and not to listen to the voice, to the sound of the charmers. Azog de Bnei Yissoschar, Elilim is Roshei Tevis, an acronym. Hasher lo yishma lakom malach Hashem, dahainu what? You're going to worship Avodah Zarah. What do you mean? David HaMelech tells us. We're talking about Aznayim Lahem, V'lo Yishmo, those who say it to add in Hallel. Tehillah Kapitel Kutes Vav and Pasuk Vav. They might have Einayim Lahem, V'lo Yiru, Aznayim Lahem, V'lo Yishmo. They have ears, but they don't listen. You're davening, you're praying to what? To foreign gods. You're praying to Avodah Zarah. To Avodas Kochavim, you're praying to Avodas Elilim. What are Elilim? Here, David HaMelech, we have a remez, Alpi the Bnei Yissoschar. You're worshipping whom? You're worshipping idols. Asher lo yishma l'kol malach Hashem. They don't listen to those who try to speak to it. And charm it, that's a remez. Avodas Elilim, they don't listen. So we have so many fascinating codes, all encrypted in the Osios of the Aleph Beis. We have said many times that Gavaldi Gavart by Rabbi Kelamor Netznogeya now, Sfiras Omer as well. We know that Rabbi Akiva tried to teach us Talmidim and indeed the entire world. This week's Parsha Yutes Yud Ches V'Havtalecha Kamaycha Zeh Klal Gadol B'Torah. We have Rabbi Akiva's well-known statement in the Sefer, the Torah's going in, and in the Yerushalmi, it's a Klal Gadol B'Torah. They weren't no kavod zeh lazeh. What's the idea of being no kavod zeh lazeh? We have Yisrael Roshei Tevis, Yeshi Shemri Ba'osios l'Torah, and every single Yid in Klal Yisrael corresponds to yet another os, and it doesn't matter whether you're in the Aser Sediris, whether you're in Kriya Shema, a Torah that's missing, an os is lacking, is a Sefer Torah apostle. Every single Yid matters. You have to show the chashivas of every single Yid. Who's the one to teach us that? Rabbi Akiva. He's the one, the Baal HaMemra in the third Perkei Avos to tell us Chavavodam Shenivra B'Tselem and Chiba Yaseru Naslam that we're told that we were created as Tselem Elokim. We're Bonim Atem L'Shoy. How can you not give chashivas if we're all collectively Bonim Atem L'Hashem Elokeichem? That's Rabbi Akiva. So we mentioned the Gavaldi Gavart of Rehuda Kelamar Zechatzal Gevrocha. The Asra of Young Israel of West Hempstead for decades. Explained of Kelamer. We have an os from Nos in Perk Vav that describes how Rabbi Akiva, at the age of 40, after witnessing that event of the water dripping into the rock, Rabbi Akiva says that Kavachomer, if the water after all these years can penetrate into the hard substance, into the rock, then Kavachomer, the Torah Kadosha that's Nimshul Lamayim, can penetrate into me. Gemara Bava Kam, the Gemara Tainis, Tav Zaydim and Aleph, Torah is Nimshul Lamayim, Torah can penetrate. Said 40 years old, he wakes up and he's got to learn Aleph Beis. Zog the Avostrom Nosen. Rabbi Akiva went. Again, that's not Rabbi Akiva, that's Rabbi Velosam and Adaya. Hakopon Rabbi Akiva is the one who at 40 years old goes to learn Aleph Beis, and he goes where? To a Malame Dardaki. He goes to Cheder. Malamde Tinaikas, from to Kelamar. You're 40 years old. Have your wife. She's the daughter, after all, of Kabba Savua. Have her teach you. Have Rochel teach you Aleph Beis. Have your next neighbor teach Aleph Beis. How many 40-year-old Baalei Tshuva are going to want to go back to kindergarten and sit down in that little chair and use those little bathrooms, right, and have their Shabbos parties, right? That's what, 40 years old, he's going to Cheder. What are you doing 40 years old going to Cheder? Teretz is, he didn't still want to learn about an Aleph Beis, he wanted to tatzmit the Aleph. He wanted to go back and have a Shabbos party. He didn't want to stop learning about Shabbos. He wanted to know, tell me the Amkus, tell me what an Aleph is all about, what a Beis is all about. I want to taste the honey, I want to taste the sweetness, the indescribable sweetness, I want to savor of what an Aleph Aleph is all about, what a Beis is all about, what every os in the Aleph Beis, that's 40 years old. I don't want to learn it simply intellectually. I want to dance with it. I want to live it. I want to breathe it. That's Rabbi Akiva. Who's the one to darshan the Gemara Menachos Chav Tesam Beis? Who's the one when Moshe Rabbeinu was Olam Amaro and he sees the Eibishter being kosher ksarim and the Osios HaTorah, the Tagim, the crowns that adorn all the Osios HaTorah, and he says, Rabbi Akiva, Hashem, who is being Matri HaChayoncha, Rabbi Akiva ben Yosei Shmo, and he's going to come and be Dorish Tilla and Avalochas from every Os in the Torah. Who's going to appreciate how much there is to darshan, to extrapolate and infer and deduce from every Os in the Torah? Only someone who at 40 years old appreciated it. He understood what an Aleph is. He understood what a Beis is. Who's the one to give us the famous Medrash Osios to Rabbi Akiva? None other than Rabbi Akiva tells us, I'm going to give you a medrash, I'm going to tell you Tilin of drashas, what's going on in an Aleph, how an Aleph is a vav in the middle and a yud on top and bottom, Gematria 26, Shem Havaya. I'm going to darshan every single letter in the Torah. Who? Only someone who at 40 years old who was dancing with the Aleph. He understood the chashivas, what an Aleph is, and Mamela. When my mom shechet weiter, Dr. Kellemer, who understands what a yid is, who's the one to look at the tzelem lokum, who's the one to always be menachem, Rosh Hashanah Chafayim and Aleph, and Makis Chavdal and Ois Akiva Nechamtanu, Akini Nechamtanu, who's the one to tell Schavon Shenu B'Tzelem, someone who understood what an Aleph was, understood what a Beis and a Mela in turn, understood that every yid corresponds to another os in the Torah. Dafka Rabbi Akiva, he's the one to darshan all the Tilla and Avalachas in every single os, and he's the one to tell us and highlight the chashivas of Kol Yisrael v'Yisrael Yisrael Yeshishim Riba Osios L'Torah. Ayir corresponds to every letter. The one who tells us the Yetzim Chashivas of Kol Os v'Os is good for the same Bala member, the same on the Amar, to highlight the Chashivas of Kol Yisrael v'Yisrael of every single Yid. That is Rabbi Akiva. So we have a Medrash Osios Rabbi Akiva, and we have Gemara and Shabbos Kavdala and Aleph that has some similar ideas. Darshaning the letters of the Aleph Beis. There's an amkis in the letters of the Aleph Beis. In fact, one of the reasons I wanted to speak about this this evening, not only starting with that beautiful remez of the Bnei Yissaschar and Igur de Kala, but when I paid a Shiva visit by Reb David Greenblatt earlier this week, Reb David Greenblatt, who lost his father, an emistic, a Godol B'Torah, Reb Nota Greenblatt, Zechatzadik Levrocha. So he said over one of the many Maisalach, the Gadlus or Reb Nota Greenblatt was an Adam Godol who was holding Klor and Dalit Chelkei Shulchan Aruch, and he went out to Memphis, Tennessee. He went out of town and he started at Talmud Torah in Memphis, Tennessee. How about he was traveling the world over to be Masada thousands of Gittin, to be Matzah Lagunis, and to be Matzah so many in Klal Yisrael. But one of his first Talmidim, his first class in the Talmud Torah, was Rav Nachum Lansky. Those who don't know, Rav Nachum Lansky has been a Maggid Shir, one of the Rosh Hashivas in Ner Yisrael, my alma mater for many, many years already, and he is a Makubal. He's written unbelievable shtiklech, published in Yeshurans and other places. He's holding in Sodas HaTorah, a tremendous Makubal here in America, born and bred in Memphis, Tennessee, and he's holding steeped in Kabbalah. So note the Greenbaum when Rav Lansky, Rav Nachum Lansky was sitting Shiva for a parent of Nota Greenbaum traveled from Memphis, and he was Menachem Ovel, and he went to visit Rav Nachum Lansky. Rav Nachum Lansky said, Rabbi, I don't understand. All the emistic Agadol like you're holding a Dalet Chelke Shulchan Aruch with all the poskim, all the Shach and the Tazayinara. He says, why are you in Memphis, Tennessee, teaching little kids Aleph Beis? He says, Rabbi Lansky, you know what's in an Aleph. You, a mystic, you are Mekubal. I need to tell you what it means to teach Aleph Beis. Oh, like Rav Kellemer's word. You, Rav Nachum Lansky, you know what's in an Aleph. You know what's really hidden in a Beis. You think I was just teaching Aleph Beis. You know what it means to teach Aleph Beis. I don't think it's Devarim Gedolim Eitan Mikro, the Chassam Sofer, and the various biographies the Chassam Sofer said. He said, the Rebbe that I had in my life that I had the most respect for was the Rebbe who taught me Aleph Beis. Why? He says, every other Rebbe, Rav Nosson Aller, the Hafler, Pinchas Lev Arutz, he says, every other Rebbe, they were Gavaldik, Shavagaldik, Leila, but I can always ask questions on what they taught me. You can always slug them up with a kasha. You can't slug up an Aleph and you can't slug up a Beis. That Rebbe of mine, I have to have the most respect for. You can't slug up an Aleph and a Beis. And you think that some Sefer didn't know what's in an Aleph and what's in a Beis, what's in every single os in the Torah. So how does it start out? So let's turn it. It's in Medrash Shosrei Bekivan right here in our Shas Bavli Kavdal Edam and Aleph. And the Gemara says, we're talking about Rabbi Shmuel Levi. says, Aleph Beis is Aleph Bina. Aleph is a lotion of Yolef, learning. Bina, understanding. Gimel Dalis is Gomel Dalit. Gomel Dalim, and the Gemara goes through the various osios of the Torah, and the Gimel stands for Gomel, and Gomel has the leg ready, stretched out. Nothing is coincidental. It's ready to go out and meet out Chesed to the Dalim, to the impoverished ones. Somebody asked me recently, I just figured tonight, let's bring it all together. Somebody just asked me recently, he says, what's the difference, Rabbi Feiner, between the Indian of Sholem, paying up or doing, as opposed to Gomel? Hashem is Gomel Chasodim Tovim. Just tell me Hashem is Osa Chasodim Tovim. Hashem pays up. Tell me Hashem is Mashalim Schar Tov. What is the Indian of Gemul? Ramban Shar Gemul. Schar Nonish is encompassed under that rubric called Gemul. Why the Indian of Gemul? So I saw the Malbim writes, it's an Otzar Malbim, it's something mentioned in the Yari as well, but it's the Malbim and Yeshaya. And the Malbim on Yoel, Sefer Yoel in the Troyes Oprah Dalit Posik Dalit. And the Malbim writes as follows. He says, the Indian of Gemul is Hamtzos Indian of Pula Tovim Ram Lachaveru Besibas Hispilus Ruach HaGomel Enigmal. The Hainu, there's a sense of the Gomel, the one who's meeting out the Chesed, whether it's Chesed, or whether it's Schar, or whether it's Onesh, whether it's meeting out a punishment. It's all coming Besibas Hispilus Ruach HaGomel Enigmal. That means there's something he wants to achieve, something he wants to do. It's a reaction towards some sense of spirit that's dwelling within, meaning what? The need of Sholei and the Shemus and Dafim. Sholei means Tashlumun Lefi Apulo Maisu Shozolaso. That means Ruvain lent me $100. I'm going to pay up Ruvain $100. It doesn't highlight the emotions of the Ruach that I have, the Ruach that he has. It's all about what? He lent me $100. I'm being Mashalim. I give him $100. The car mechanic fixed your car. Nothing to do about any relationship. Nothing to do about love or hate or revenge or reward. It's all about what? He did a Maisa. He did a Pula. I have to pay him up. I have to do Prius. Balchov. I have to be Mashalim. I have to pay up the Poel. That's in of Shalem. But Gemul, the Shorish, the etymology of Gimel Mem Lamed is Nik Shorish Tamid is Spidus the Tuchunis Gomel. It's not focusing on paying up the Nigmal. It's highlighting the Rik Shelev and the nature, the makeup of the Tuchunis and Nefesh of the Gomel. And it's Mashkif, it's overlooking and overseeing the Kesher Avo, Sina, Rotzon and a Kamasher Beina Nosin Vamakabel. Gemul is a word somewhat synonymous with Sholem, but while Sholem focuses on nothing to do with the emotions, nothing to do on the nature of the relationship, it's certainly not in the nature of the Gomel. The plumber fixed your toilet, fixed your sink, you have to go and pay him up. So that's Tashlum, and you paid him up, you did a job. Gemul is the idea. No, I want to highlight the relationship that we have. I want to reward him. That means what? I'll be Mashali, but I'll be Mashali. Gemul will be Lamashal. I'm not just giving him the $50 for the plumbing job. I'm going to give him a little ice cream, and I'll give him a seltzer, I'll give him another drink, I'll add on a little snack. That's an Indian of Gemul to highlight the relationship, the kesher that we have. And that's in it. It brings rayas from Tehillim. That's the Hevdel B'neihem. That's in it of Gemul. So Gemul means Hashem is not just Osa Ma'aseh Chesed. He is Gomel because he wants to highlight the relationship. The Yachas Atzmi. The Yachas, the Emes Kesher. Hashem says, I'm not just giving you up because I told you do a mitzvah, I'll give you a schar. It's Tashlum Gemul. I'm not being Tashlumin. It's Tashlum Gemul. It's a schar that highlights what? You did my rotzen. I want to go in and pay you up. I want to reward you. I want to highlight the Kesher of Avo that we have Beinenu. That's the Hishtamshus B'dafka with the Bitoy of Gemul, and that's why Hashem is Gomel Chasodim Tovim. He's not just Oseh Chasodim. He is Gomel when he gives it. He wants to be Margish and he wants to emphasize the love. So let's just close with the following. We quoted earlier the Maral's brother Iger Satzio. We quoted earlier this week. So let's be Messiah now with another beautiful remez of not the Maral, but the brother of the Maral, Miprag, Rav Chaim and Rabbi Tzal, the famed author of the Sefer Chaim, and the famed author of the Geras HaTiyul B'derech Pardes, HaTiyul B'Pardes, Pshat Remez Drusod, and the Chelik HaRemez in the Geras HaTiyul and Oz Gimel, and he also has Gavaldik Ramazim Alpi Seder Aleph Beis. He says, Gimel, Gomel, Ashir al Hashem Ki Gamal Alai, quoting David HaMelech and Tehillim, the end of Kapitel Yud Gimel, V'ani B'chast Chabatach Yagel Libi B'Shuasecha, Ashir al Hashem Ki Gamal Alai. I'm going to sing to HaKadosh. Why? Because he has dealt kindly with me. Ki Gomel Alai. So based on the album, what do we see? Hashem didn't just do something, it's a relationship. I see that Hashem loves me so much. So Rabbi said, let's be Messiah with the brother of the Marami Prague. He cites in the Kabbalah This is a me, and this is based on the Kabbalah. The Arizal mentions it in his Sefer Gilgulim. Never somebody who sins in Gilei Arayis, Befrat and Ashes Ish, comes back to this world as a Gilgul, had Mizgalgul, had Nefesh Begamol, comes back as a camel. Someone who sins in Gilei Arayis is going to have to reincarnate as a camel. Why? Lefisha Gomel, and he brings Kama V'Kama Arayis. We have a Rashi, V'Yishlach Amen Rosh Haggadah. We have Rashis and Rashbams, and Bava Basra Tzadi Gimel, and Bali Yatayz V'Chulei Gomel. Is tzanua b'tashmish yoyse mechote zeh. A camel is very tzanua in inyone tashmish amita. So someone who violates Gilei Arayis and he's not tzanua in inyone Arayis is going to have to come back as a gomel. Mela. He says that's why David HaMelech says, I see that Hashem loves me. I thought Hashem hates me. Why? Because David says he sinned with Bathsheba. Now again, Shamson Vav Amnal, come on, David Chatei no Latoeh. And he says, Ani Mizar de David. But in the end of the day, he says to Nasan Ani Chatosi. And he was worried that he sinned with Gilei Arayis with an Eish Ish. In the end of the day, Kol Yotzil Mechemes Beis David get creases Kosi Lish to Ayin Misachas Kshuvas Dav Tesam and Aleph. We know that in the end of the day he wasn't over in Avera. But from his perspective, he would thought he was over in an Eish Ish. He says, Hashem now cast me aside. Hashem isn't forgiving me. When did he say Yashua Hashem Ki Gomel Alai? When he saw that Hashem still loves him, he says, I'm going to sing out to Hashem. Why? Ki Gomel Alai. Kol Omer as if to say the owners of Gilgal Nafshi. But Evesh Gomel, he thought maybe he sinned with Eish Ish. And if he sinned with Gilei Arayis, Eish Ish about Hashem, he would have to reincarnate, come back to this world as a Gomel. So he says, Yashua Hashem, why? Ki Gomel Alai. That ownership of Gomel already came Alai here in this world, and it didn't have to reincarnate as an actual camel. And that's why he says, Hashem Ki Gomel Alai. He thought he would have to help the Arizal. He'd have to, since he sinned about Shabbat, he'd have to come back as a camel. A camel is Tzanu and Inyani Arayis. And Tasha Shemitah, and that's the tikkun, the rectification for someone who was nishol and Gilei Arayis. David thought he was nishol and Gilei Arayis, but since he took care of it, when he saw that David forgave him, when it's still close to him as ever, I'm going to sing out to Hashem and Shil Hashem. Why? Ki Gomel Alai. The punishment of a Gomel that he thought would be on him already was nishol like it was on him. So the Feiner it's so geshmak. Why? Because Arayis in the Lashon Mikra is called what? A chesed. It is chesed running amok. It's chesed going out of control. Who is the animal of chesed? Gomel is Gomel Chesed. Writes the Rokeach in his Perush on the Torah, Parshas Chayisara. How many times does the Torah need to tell me when Eliezer is looking for a successor to Sarimenu? Eliezer's looking, it says Eliezer's there with all the Gemolim. He's there with all the camels. Might have Kamita. The camels don't do anything. I just need to know there were camels there when Rivka offers the water to Eliezer. Then I'll give to drink. Why constantly camels, camels, camels? Right through Keach, Avraham Avinu wanted to hammer him, to ingrain into his servant Eliezer. I want you to find the worthy wife who can stand alongside my son Yitzchak. And sorry, Meinu was all about Kamilas Chesed. Rivka, what is the Koveya? Tainus Davdalam Nav. I want to see who's going to be an emistic, a quintessential Balas Chesed, who's going to give me water to drink, and my camels water to drink. So Avraham Avinu says, I'm sending camels to Eliezer. Every second of the journey, he should be looking, thinking, Gemolim, Gemolim, Gomel Chesed, Gomel Chesed. This is the Rokeach, one of the Gedolei Rishonim. The idea of the camels was to remind him emphatically every step of the journey in the desert. You're looking for a wife, look to your camels, Gemolim, Gomel Chesed. Why is the camel? Because the camel, you don't have to take care of it, you don't have to feed it, you don't have to give it water to drink. Just fill it up on the journey. It's got the humps, it's going to take you through the desert. It's 100 degrees outside, and the camel's going to do unbelievable Chesed. Will be Gomel to Dalam, in a place of Dallas, in a place in the desert. Who is the creature that epitomizes Chesed and a Makom and a Matzav of Dallas more than any other creature? That's the Gomel. Hence it's called the Gamal. As it's Gomel Chesed. Somebody who perpetrates Arayis, what's going on? The Feiner ID. Because Arayis is Chesed. That's unrestrained. That's unfettered. That's Chesed going out of control. Amela, the Tikkun is going to be Ayadei, the Evestik Chesed, which is Ayadei a Gomel. That's the reincarnation of Amela. David HaMelech says, Shir Hashem Ki Gomel Oloi. Gomel Chesed. And that goof is the Tikkun for someone who let the Chesed go out of control. That's in the Gomel. That's the Gomel. That's the Gomel Chesed. Eibishter should be Gomel Chasadim with us all to give us the ultimate Chesed Tov. With BS called setting. Hey, Rabbi,